We have with us Mr. Sunil D'Souza, Managing Director and CEO of Tata Consumer Products, as the guest editor in the studio today. Now, before I go to him, here's something which will make everyone happy, especially shareholders and our viewers. Look at the chart of Tata Consumers in the last 4 years. It's just, the stock has done nothing short of magic. Before you finish the word magic, actually the stock has already done the magic. From 227 rupees, roughly 200 rupees, it has gone to 1200 rupees. Wow. You don't see that kind of a giant leap in consumer stocks. Yes, IT, fintech, NBFC, manufacturing. So Tata Consumer now today is commanding market cap, which is equivalent that to Britannia, and it is respectfully commanding P multiples, which are highest not only in India and the FMCG sector, but perhaps one amongst the highest. It's very simple. Indian FMCG companies are commanding the highest P multiples in the world. In that, if you're commanding a premium multiple, that makes you a very well-respected company, at least in the global FMCG space. I'm sure you're liking what I'm saying.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
But what sets you apart? What do you think has led to that near 300% jump in your stock?
I go back to the whole thesis of formation of the Tata Consumer business, right? The Tata name is the most trusted in the country.
Sure.
And therefore, you have every right to succeed in the consumer space, especially in this large, fragmented, commoditized, unbranded business that is the FMCG business in India. And therefore, the whole thesis of putting this company together has paid out. And over the last 4 years, I would say, we've just focused on the basics, right? Basics in terms of driving distribution, driving branding, driving innovation, expanding portfolio into categories, building muscles in R&D, building muscles in digital. I don't think there's been rocket science out here. It's plain simple common sense and focus on the basics and driving metrics. Whether it is driving up ROC, which is Nikunj's favorite question to me. I just like to point out last quarter.
Favorite question.
Last quarter versus previous same quarter last year, we were up by 260 basis points. So every quarter coming up, EBITDA is now 15%. Working capital we brought down from about 50 days down to now I think 32, 33 days. So huge focus on driving efficiencies in capital and most importantly, talent. I mean, irrespective of the strategy, the game plan, etc., ultimately you need people to drive it.
Yeah.
I think we probably built, I would say, one of the strongest teams in the FMCG business today.
The natural migration of any economy is that economies will get rich and the per capita food consumption will go to disproportionately higher. But if I look at the food basket in India as the total percentage of total spend, real estate or rental is highest, then it's food. Isn't food already a large part of everyone's consumer spend in India?
It is. Nikunj, when economies move, initially the food spend will be the highest because people don't have that much disposable income. As per capita goes up, the percentage will drop, but the absolutes will continue to grow up. I would say probably over the last decade, about 500 to 700 basis points is the reduction in food. But you have to remember the per capita consumption has gone by that much. So that's number one. Number two is while this goes up, you should also remember aspirations grow, convenience becomes important, urbanization, nuclearization. So the whole profile of the spend also starts to change. People will move from unbranded to branded, premiumization will happen in the economy, people will be willing to pay a premium for more healthy food, etc. So those trends will catch up.
Okay. And I think the big vacuum that there was in that space, and we always talk about the shift from unorganized to organized, I think that vacuum is what you've latched onto so correctly.
No, so across categories, if you look at it, and categories that we play in, right? Tea, after so many years, right, of branded players playing there, still 1/3 of the market is unbranded.
Yeah.
In salt, right, 45% of the market is what I call no-name brands.
Yeah.
The top 5 players are just
all of
55.
it, yeah.
Spices, only 1/3 is branded. So India is a huge runway of both pieces, from the bottom unbranded to branded, plus premiumization happening at the higher end.
Okay, I'm going to take the conversation back to Tata Consumer 2019. Sunil D'Souza comes and takes over. First was to identify what is commodity and what is brand. That was phase 1, which is when you said, okay, I'm going to start adding more brands, start moving towards a premiumization drive. Then the second is that you started working on your distribution. your entire supply chain. You started taking your margins higher. And the third phase is that when you acquired growth now because of your two acquisitions. Am I charting the journey accurately?
Oh, absolutely, Nikunj. The first phase, you got to decide where to play, how to play, right? And how to win in those categories. So absolutely, we first looked at the entire food and beverage landscape and figured out where do we want to play. We identified 5 clear growth pillars where we are going to play, right? Core base, pantry, ready to drink beverages, breakfast, mini meal snacking, and what I call future ready categories. Then you've got to build a base engine to deliver against those categories. So whether it is distribution, where we moved from about 500,000 outlets to 1.5 direct, 4 million reach, or R&D, where my innovation to sales ratio has moved from 0.8 to now we are about 5.3, 5.4%, best in class. Or digital, where I would say we are now par, but now 6 months hence I would be top of the class, whether it is data at the front end, leveraging it for efficiencies, driving. So, and more importantly, when we did this whole roadmap, we said once we get the base ready, then we will look at both organic and inorganic opportunities. There's some stuff we can do organically, but there's some stuff which from time, effort, energy spent is better to do it inorganically.
How many products you had in 2019 and how many SKUs, if I may use the FMCG terminology, how many SKUs do you have now?
So in terms of products, we're primarily a tea and salt company, right? If you took, I remember the exact numbers, but if you took our total mix, probably I would say 90% of our business was tea and salt, or maybe 95 to that extent. Today, I would say we're broadly diversified. I mean, when we started, we were 50% India beverages, 50% global beverages. Then we brought in, it was roughly 1/3 each. Today, India is about, I would say, 80% of my mix. Food in India is 40% of my mix from almost nothing. We've gone to about 1,000 SKUs now.
1,000?
Yeah, so but there are two sides of the story. On one side, the marketing guys want more SKUs. On the other side, the operations guys want lower number of SKUs.
Yeah.
It's always a balance. We always have this quarterly review where we look at every single SKU. Non-performing SKUs will cull, simply to create space in what I call the funnel to make sure we can put in newer stuff.
In the next 3 to 5 years, you think food will remain at 40% of your SKU pie? Isn't that where the big opportunity is? Or would it continue to be beverages and salt?
No, so absolutely. I mean, beverages and salt, we've always said probably 5% volume, 7% value growth. But we've always said double-digit top-line growth. So for that to happen, it is the rest of the portfolio which has to fire. Earlier we said 20% of our portfolio we defined as growth will grow at 30. Now with the acquisitions, we said 30% of the portfolio will grow at 30. Food absolutely is the far bigger playing field, and that's where we will go after aggressively.
How many new categories you've created? I mean, for example, spices. The unorganized players dominated the category. Dry fruits, unorganized players, they dominated the category. Soul food acquisition, unorganized players, you're scaling it. How many new unorganized categories which you are targeting, which could be, let's say, these 1,000 crore categories for you in coming years?
So, Nikunj, overall, if you look at it, apart from our core tea and
salt side,
balance, I would say most of the categories we are creating. The pantry space, which is under Sampan, and now a little bit from Capital Foods.
The brand ambassador, Mr. Kapoor, will be joining us.
I'm more than happy to have him here. So, the whole pantry space, whether it is pulses, spices, mixes, dry fruits, makhana, all those spaces.
Become that big, is it?
Sorry?
Makhana has become that big?
No, I'm saying the whole Sampan is now 1,000 crores, but those categories per se, if you look at it, they're significant. Now the whole thing is we can grow aggressively at very low margins or a decent pace at decent margins. I would rather do the latter because you have to build business profitably. The entire ready-to-drink beverage space, we've grown 5 times in 4 years. The entire breakfast, mini meals, cereals, snacking did not exist in Tata Consumer earlier. We've created that entire vertical, partly organically, but partly also through acquisition of Soulful and now Ching Secret. And most importantly, the future categories also. We are not only building for today, we're building for tomorrow. Organic India is, the acquisition is positioned for tomorrow. I mean, whether it is organic or Ayurveda, they play it at the confluence of both. And as per capita income grows, health, wellness, nutrition, that's going to play off, right? Convenience. So, turmeric capsule or organic psyllium, I think that is poised for growth.
Okay.
Absolutely. Where do you see though the challenges in future?
I think challenges in future, A is, I keep saying an emerging economy is not a straight pipe. It is a snake in a pipe, right? You will go through ups and downs.
Yeah.
You've got to have your eye on the long term, not get unnerved with the movements in the economy, and also not get too fussed up about margins going up and down as long as you've got your eye on the future, right? Because there is a big pot at the end of the pipe. That's number one. Number two is as you grow, I mean, people is going to be a big challenge, right? You need top-notch talent and you've got to retain the talent. That is the other big piece. The third is consumer trends are, there are some clear trends which are happening. You've got to stay on top of it. Otherwise, you'll be the company of yesterday, you'll not keep in the trends of today, whether it is health and wellness, whether it is convenience, whether it is snacking, clean label, sustainability. You've got, it's not going to come tomorrow, but you've got to position the company inch by inch to play for it in the future.
So the inefficiencies is something which you worked upon. Return ratios have improved. Distribution network has been finalized. You identified your categories. So can I say now for Tata Consumer to grow, it really would be a function of not market share gain or category launches, it would be a function of GDP?
I would say a bit of both. In my existing categories, it will, I mean, my core categories, it will be still market share gain. But for everything else, it will be category creation. I mean, there is no national pantry player, so to speak, playing across all the products that we have. We have to create those categories. Or the new acquisitions that we have, for example, whether it is Capital Foods, Ching's Secret. I mean, Desi Chinese, in many of those places, they are the category. So we have to do category growth. Sorry?
It's Punjabi, it's Punjabi and Chinese.
Is India getting very conscious? Because suddenly when I walk to any store, gluten-free, sugar-free, no added preservatives, is that something which you are seeing that there's a definite category shift?
We are seeing those trends coming out. Health and
So
wellness.
you never launch a samosa, no packet samosa from you ever?
No, they have.
You
have.
have to have a little bit of indulgence, but the right level of indulgence. Indians are getting conscious about HFSS.
Okay. You'll have to define HFSS
high
for
fat,
us.
salt and sugar.
Okay.
Indians are getting conscious about clean labels, about organic, about sustainability. But there's one big difference, right? The Indian consumer is still a value-seeking consumer.
Okay.
So Indian consumer wants convenience, but might pay only a small premium for the convenience. They want health, but no compromise on taste. They want sustainability, but are not willing to pay the cost. So you've got to balance those pieces as you go forward.
I have to ask you a housekeeping question. Not be incomplete without that right issue. When will it be closed?
So we had said that we will close it by end of Q1, FY25. We were waiting for approvals. One is the statutory approvals, and from the Tata Sons board, we've got that. So now that has set into motion. It should take about three to 4 months.
So I'm assuming the Tata Sons will participate because if they are involved in the approvals and everything.
They have approved the rights issue.
Okay, which means they are likely to participate.
Yes, they
so
will.
Indirectly, this is one point which I just want to bring it out for our viewers, and correct me if my interpretation is wrong. In this right issue, Tata Sons would be increasing their stake in Tata Consumer.
It's a rights issue. So, I mean, it's open for everyone, excepting that the promoter has said they will back up the rights issue.
Yeah, I mean, if
Whatever is
others don't
unsubscribed.
participate, unsubscribe goes to them.
Absolutely.
Okay, but they are backing the right issue.
Yes.
Okay. And the acquisition of Organic India and Capital Foods has already started integrating. In this quarter itself, we will see the numbers as part of the consolidated kitty.
So Capital Foods, we did close the acquisition on the 1st of February.
Exactly.
And we started integrating on the first evening, right? We started invoicing on the first evening. So I would say distribution more or less 80-85% done. Now the game moves to the back end because they've got 7 plants, we've got plants, we're looking at that, this thing. But we've always said in 100 days we will finish the integration. Organic India, while we've signed, it is yet to close. We do expect to close, I would say, early April. And again, within 100 days, we will integrate the entire system. So Capital Foods, you will see 2 months of numbers consolidated for this quarter. Organic India would be Q1 of 2025.
Well, we've got Rama Bijapurkar as well, renowned author, right here in the house. And Rama, welcome to ET now. Before I move to Rama, I just want to understand, does it seem like there is a conscious tilt towards pulling the premium urban consumer to the Tata Consumers platform?
I would say we have opportunities both in urban and rural. For me, the opportunity is bigger in rural than urban, right? Simply because the size and scale of that opportunity is bigger, A. B, historically our distribution has always been weak and therefore our market shares in those segments have been lower. Many of the products that we are selling today are upgrading the urban consumer, but the rural consumer will also get there. I would say in a portfolio, you've got to broadly define your categories where you want to play. There'll be some you'll play for scale, some you'll play for margin, some you'll play for brands, right? I would play for categories like tea and salt and this thing across with the rural consumer as well because that gives me scale. But I would also play upgradation of pulses at the higher end because that gives me a bit of margin. I would push for soulful at the higher end, that gives me margin. So our focus would be broad-based growth.
Okay, Ramaji, one headline which we are discussing with Sunil and we'll take it forward with you also is that has the rural economy recovered? You know, there is a data point which AC Nielsen gives, which HUL gives every quarter saying hum to grow hi nahi kar rahe. 2% growth is what we have. The RBI governor had a completely different take on it. What is your understanding on the rural end of the consumption?
Hi, thank you for having me here. So consumption to me is about people earning. I know it's fashionable to talk about consumption separately, investment separately, income separately. Is the rural consumer more gainfully occupied and meaningfully occupied now than during the COVID period? Obviously, yes. Okay. If you're driving a truck or a bus for school children, then you had no children to take to school, now you do. Similarly, if construction, you know, the occupation parameters, profile of rural India is not about people going to offices and earning a certain amount of money. It is about if you don't show up to work, you don't get to eat, or you have to show up, you know, the rain gods and the MSP gods have to be kind. And I think on all counts, things are getting better. Now, whether they're getting as better as we would like it to get is another point to discuss what the basis of ambition and aspiration actually is. But I certainly think that people are more gainfully employed. So if you look at the overall picture of occupation in India, I mean, what tends to happen is when the economy gets better, when there's more work, when it's firing on all cylinders, everybody, the bottom rises, right? When it goes bad, everybody takes a proportionate haircut. And that is the nature of occupation that we have.
But Rama, for any FMCG player, and you know, let's keep Tata Consumer outside right now, I'm just talking about the overall sector. For any of them to become the country's largest player, there is no, I mean, you have to please all, right? And I guess that's the theory that you talk about in your latest book as well, Lilliput Land. I mean, India is not India alone, it's India plus Bharat, if I can put it like that.
There are many Indias.
Also, yes.
Many Indias. In fact, if you look at what Hindustan Lever and Nestle chairman in their various speeches, AGM speeches over time have talked about, they've talked about winning in many Indias. Right? IT India, if America goes bad, is going to, and catches a cold, IT India will catch a very big cold. Okay, that big cold may or may not affect rural India. Right? So something, if you remember in 2008, the urban market started doing very badly because of the financial crisis. But rural did very well because we'd written off loans, there was MSPs, there was road connectivity. So kabhi kuch, it is a hydra-headed monster. And so to me, the question of portfolios is about which India is your India. It's very clear, multinationals, India is usually at the upper end. You know, when companies tell me I have to balance profit and volume, margin and volume, obviously you do. But you can balance margin and volume at the lower end if you have lower costs. You can balance it at the higher end. So how high is up? How do you do the balance? That is really the challenge and the concern. So I think you have to have a multi-pronged portfolio if you want to play in the $3.8 billion going to $5 billion. You know, you can't say today we're lucky because half of incomes are sitting at the higher end post-COVID, post everything else. I remember a period between 2004 and 13 when, and I track incomes through primary surveys, the lower income was actually growing at a faster rate. Obviously, the amount of money, even at a slower rate of growth in the hands of the richer people is more. But you never know. Kabhi ye, kabhi wo. You have to decide कि ये मेरा नहीं है, या I'm going to play all of it.
Like the snake in the pipe. Exactly that.
Can I encourage you to ask a question, something which you would like to take a conversation forward as the guest editor today with Ramaji?
So, Ramaji, where do you see the Indian consumer in terms of trends going forward?
So before I get there, I want to tell you that I am delighted to be here. My stockbroker always tells me that I have to invest in your stock.
Just
and
say
I say
that
why.
again.
And you
Just say
still
that again.
And I say why. No, I'm not really disclosing, but and when I say why, they say because of Sunil. So I'm really delighted to meet you because you're going to take care of my old age pensions.
So you can decide for yourself today.
Oh,
Will you take
I'm
care of?
definitely
Will you do
sold.
that? Will you do that?
Of course he
She
will.
said she's definitely
No, I'm
sold.
asking him a
Guess who's in the house?
Hello.
Hi, good morning, good morning.
Hello,
Hi,
we met
good
before.
morning.
Yes.
Good morning.
Yes, good
Hi,
morning.
Sunil.
Hi, Sanjeev.
He's your brand ambassador.
Yes.
Yes.
And he's created value for us over a period of time. And the other thing is, he's our expert to tell us what's happening in the food world. What are the trends? Where is it that we should focus on? Which are the categories we should look at? How to play the brand, how not to play the brand. So very, very valuable advice.
So, Ramaji is already a shareholder of Tata Consumer.
I think all of us are, right?
He's sold on it.
I think all of us are.
वो soul food अब समझ में आता है कहाँ से connection है सारा. सब everything is soul connection है.
Yes.
But yeah, you were asking her something.
Yes, so
Yes.
In terms of trends, you know, I believe that there are three parts to this whole consumption story, which I say in my book as well. There's structure, there's behavior of the consumers. I look through the people lens, and there's supply. So I feel that behavior is a done deal. We're dying to consume. Consumption is the new god in the pantheon. Consumption doesn't look at margins and volumes. The minute you have a Paytm thing in Kedarnath, you know that, and when temples are doing online darshan, you know, digital is also a done deal. So I think the dying to consume is a done deal. You know, the structure in terms of incomes, particularly in occupations, is not great because we are number 3, 4, 5 in terms of overall economy, but we're below 100 in terms of per capita, and that's not going to suddenly get to number 5. Similarly, in terms of occupations, you know, practically the whole country is self-employed, right? So you can be an insurance company and say, I will target the salaried people, in which case you will leave out 93% of everybody. So our demographics are what they are. I think they're getting better. I hope they get better at an accelerated pace, but structure is really one of the big Achilles heels we have. On the other side, I think that supply has been, we are supply short. We have a crisis of supply. Everybody wants to serve the high end, but even at the high end, I'm not seeing, I can't get on a Ro-Ro today. If I want to go, getting into an airport is crazy. If I want to fly to somewhere, I have one choice, 1.5 in many places. If you look at the algorithm that says business class seats are going at 60,000 rupees to Delhi, I mean, clearly there's a supply issue here. It's not the algorithm's brilliance, right? Yes. So I think we are supply short in terms of solving people's problems. And to me, consumption will take off when infrastructure takes off, which has already happened to a great degree. When the price is right, when the value is right, when it's free, like UPI, things will explode. But even when it is not, if you look at the amount of small supply that we have, I think that really changes. If you get me a Korean grill, and my house is full of Korean grills that you have made available to us, and little coffee machines, I mean, we're going ahead and buying. You have a Roomba floor robot or whatever brand, and there it is. But I'm a housewife interested in cooking. Yeah. So I mean, so I think that the minute we get our supply singing much better, top and bottom, it is going to take off. I also don't agree with the theory that above a particular income level, consumption will take off, because that is supply saying कि ये मेरा price point है. When you get to go beyond that, then you're my consumer. But if you're poor, you still want your house painted लड़की के शादी के पहले. So I think we need to learn to deal with the consumer base we have. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Your takeaways.
No, but I would absolutely agree with you on the addressing the India and the Bharat and the margin expectations, right? You've got to very clearly decide your portfolio where you're going to play. I keep saying you can't take a percentage margin to the bank.
Yes.
You can take absolute rupees.
Correct.
So it's a question of how do you structure your business. If it's a low margin business, then your whole business model has to be built to address that. But it is a huge, huge price. And the other thing is, over a period of time, even if you're playing that space, it will upgrade. There is aspiration, there is growth even in that segment. It will. So I would completely agree with you that you can't say only beyond this level, you're my consumer. A lot of companies do that.
And the grandmaster of this space is actually Nirma. I mean, I spent a year and a half in my youth studying competitive strategy analysis on Nirma. And then if you notice, as people were upgrading, his consumers started traveling in Maruti cars and not in auto rickshaws, and the products kind of upgraded. So that's a little bit of history.
So I'll throw this question open and I'll encourage everyone to perhaps talk about it. Not the general macro trend here, which is that India will grow, consumption will grow, Indians will consume better. That is like a template in which we all have been working with and we will continue to work. I'll start with you, Mr. Kapoor, and the common question I'll ask everyone is that what is that one consumer trend which you think is evident, not just based on macro, but based on insight?
Right. So, thank you, Nikunj. And I must first tell Rama that Korean grill that you say, so the India and Bharat that we are talking here, so India also when it comes to taste behaves like Bharat.
Okay.
So that's the beauty. It does not behave the way. Yes, it's. So the Korean grill that we sell, we position it as gas tandoor oven.
Yes, that's what I bought it.
Yeah, that's how it is. So it's actually a Korean grill.
My wife just came back from Korea.
Hibachi.
Yeah,
Right?
she's wow.
Yeah, I love Korean food.
I'm really behind the curve.
Yeah, but that's what when it comes to taste. So from food point of view, I'll focus on food because that's my expertise. I think there is discovery that is happening, and there is more discovery that is happening. There has been accelerated growth of that discovery. That discovery can be from any part of the world. When it comes to food, the familiarity works. So in what we are discovering within India, Bharat, wherever we say, if that discovery happens quickly, consumption will go towards that. And that's exactly what is happening. Though there is a lot of information, there is a lot of Korean talk, but familiarity is not there. So consumption will be, so talk would be there. So I always say this, India is a country where we talk salad, eat samosa. So
That's very good.
So that
was one of the captions for your
yeah, no, actually
eat samosa.
Damodar used that in his book. Many years ago I said this. So I think this is something which we are seeing everywhere, and you would see this from, let's say, all the data that you have on, let's say, biryani being ordered most. Why is it? One, there is familiarity, but India and Bharat both are value driven. Now biryani, let's say, look at as a dish, it's a restaurant dish. When you get it at home and I can get it at a cheaper price, a huge quantity, you will say, wow, because there's an arbitrage available. It's like getting Nespresso. People say 2 grams of coffee.
आज नेस्ले का ब्रांड का बात मत करिए.
मैं वही कर रहा हूँ, मैं वही बात कर रहा हूँ, मैं टाटा का ब्रांड एम्बेसडर हूँ, मैं वहीं पे ही आऊँगा, घूम फिर के मैं वही आऊँगा कि 2 ग्राम की कॉफी जो है, आप इतनी whenever you sell it so expensive, people think, it's cheaper than what you get in a coffee shop, but it's actually 2 grams of coffee, whereas you can get much higher value. So there would always be a market where there is higher arbitrage available for business people, because consumer wants higher value, but at the same time wants to show that I have consumed. हम अभी भी दिखाने वाले, अभी भी हम सैलेड और समोसे वाले ही हैं.
You know, Nestle folks have already messaged saying that, okay, let's stop. Tatas have to defend the fact that they're also selling green tea for 2 grams at 5,000 rupees per kg.
It's a portfolio play.
They moved in the value chain. 2 gram chai.
I know
2
that.
grams of green tea at 8 rupees?
3 grams.
3 grams, okay. फिर भी 4,000 है.
Yeah, but
You break it up like that, I
think
wonder
about
what
it.
the consumer is going to think.
yeah, but it's
So the one big trend is, according to you, is that it's premiumization, experimentation.
But
Yeah.
value for money.
But value is something which is something that we will not give up, no matter what. So we will always calculate like this: 3 grams and 4,000 rupees, no matter what.
We're in India who always travels abroad and continuously converts to Indian rupees,
I mean,
right?
sushis are now part of shadi buffets.
Yeah.
So that's how actually India evolved. What is the big consumer trend according to you for 3 years, which has not evolved, but is going to evolve in a very big manner? For example, e-commerce has evolved. For example, convenience has evolved. Instamart has evolved. Convenience has evolved. What is that big trend according to you?
So, Nikunj, I would say, agreeing with Sanjeev, couple of trends out there. Convenience, I think, is evolving. There's still a long way to go. To give you an example, in our business, pre-COVID, 2% was online. Today it's 12, and in that 12, 1/3 is quick commerce, right? So convenience of the extreme sort, and India is leapfrogging over other economies, just because, to Ramaji's point, structurally we were not there. Now different structures have come up which enables things. The other big piece I would think has yet to play out again. The Indian consumer is exposed to global trends, right? Especially digital, etc. So new experiences are going to be a trend, right? I would say Mexican, Chinese, Korean, people are willing to experiment. And it's not only international cuisines, right? People in Delhi want to order a Hyderabadi biryani or a Dindigal biryani. I didn't know what a Dindigal biryani was till someone said, oh, it's a...
Super spicy.
Okay.
Yeah. So people are now starting to experiment with different cuisines from different parts of India, because India is not one country when it comes to food. That's the second piece. The third piece, I think, which is poised for takeoff is snacking. But snacking, again, to Sanjeev's point, I mean, the Indian consumer wants sustainability, will not pay for it, wants health, will not compromise on taste, wants convenience, will not pay the cost. So it will take off, but I mean, it remains to be figured out what will be tweaked to make sure that it takes off. So
But
I would say...
how will you continue to appease the price-conscious Indian? Because organic India is not for the masses. So, I mean, is there an acquisition that you would look at which sort of suits the price point of Bharat?
No, so you have to play the price points of Bharat. So there are like I said, it's a portfolio play. You've got to decide what part of your portfolio addresses what. Something will address scale and Bharat. Something will address margins in India. And some will be for the future, for building brands.
So it won't be all for all.
So our tea, for example, we are down from Agni, which is about 100 rupees a kilo, up to we sell Tata 1868 at 1000 rupees a kilo, right? So the lower end, you have to play for scale, you have to play at lower margins, you have to go broad-based distribution. Upper end, people are willing to premiumize, pay for the Tulsi, Brahmi, etc. They're willing to pay that premium. So you've got to, I mean, how do I say, segment your portfolio to decide where you're going to play what. You can't be everything to everyone.
Chef Kapoor, the minute we think of food, what we've discussed is brands and evolution of supply chains. But what to your mind is the big trend in the food per se? What is that big trend in the food category?
See, I think what I have seen over the years is there are conversations that precede consumption. So whatever conversation is happening will lead to consumption later, and the density of conversation, when it increases, it will convert to consumption. How fast that is, I think it is always up to companies, brands to take ownership of that, say, okay, now I believe in it. Like what Sunil said is that there are few things for future, right? So what we have been hearing, right? And it has not led to that consumption, but I think that's global, which is the health and wellness. Health and wellness is a part which I think is a given, but in India, taste is paramount. That's what we have seen. So if you give a choice, people want healthy things, but not at cost of taste. You say health, people here not tasty. So that's the dichotomy of the issue. In terms of convenience, I think that is expectation setting is unreal, and that's India has been able to deliver that. I don't think anybody believed that quick commerce will work like this, and it's And I'm amazed, it's not only food or ice cream or pan or things that you're ordering. So we put our blender on quick commerce.
Really?
Yes.
Mixie.
Why does anyone want it in 10 minutes?
Mixie.
Why not?
Oh, exactly. Now that's the question. Why
I
not?
would say why not?
I'll tell you when guests for lunch,
Yeah.
your husband's boss, your mixie's conked out.
What do you
Earlier it was, Are Ramu, Baju wale ke ghar jaake leke aao. But
Yeah.
Baju wala has a very fancy mixie. So go and get me the
Baju wala
simplest
is not even
possible.
home.
Baju wala
They're
is not
also
home.
hard at
Baju wala
work.
doesn't
Who
like
you-
me.
yeah.
But also when you have a
My
mixie that
Bajuwala
is...
is always ordering on Swiggy and Zomato. तो उसके रहते कुछ नहीं
But
मिलता
when you have a mixie that's really cheap and works well, that price point also. I mean, no one's going to buy a very, very high-end multi-gadget mixie at that time. But something to get the masala done, yeah, khud karna padega, that's like not happening.
Yeah, but boy, we love it. Boy, we are not
So
complaining.
actually selling grinders on quick commerce.
On quick commerce, we sell our Nutri blend and we sell by thousands. So it's real. It's something which we said, okay, chalo, we'll start and we will see how it behaves. And so we just last week we launched frozen foods with Tata's with Big Basket, and I've been in different cities in last 7 days, and I'm seeing most of the places it's available on as 10-minute delivery, and I'm thinking this is frozen food, right? You need to thaw it. It will take
Some time.
Supply chain has to be maintained.
Right.
Chillers have to be created.
But the expectation is I wanted it in 10 minutes. So I was talking to the team. They said, yeah, the traction is more in 10 minutes. So that's...
I think just taking off.
Go ahead.
I think the key to play for the future is you see these trends, right? You see health and wellness, you see quick commerce, you see sustainability. I think the key would be to figure out which of these are going to be large trends and how do you play at the confluence of these
Which
categories.
is the trend big according to you?
For me, health and wellness is going to become a big trend, and that translating in the snacking space, right? That is, so exactly like Sanjeev said, health is not taste.
Yeah.
But if I can marry health and taste and I can get you something tasty, you've got a winner.
Yeah, I think I have a brand for that. Healthy Ram.
That's good.
That's class.
No, but on a more serious note, one of the reasons why we are pivoting soulful into snacking is ragi, more sustainable crop, nutrition better than other cereals. If I can give you convenience and taste in a healthy manner, I mean, we think we got a winner.
I'm going to share this example I learned from Kishore Bihani, and then Ramaji, maybe your comments on that. That Indians are consuming glucose biscuit, 150 rupees a kg. They moved then to cookies, 400 rupees a kg. And now the migration is happening to chocolates, which is about 1,000 rupees a kg. That's how the migration is happening. Within the food category, Ramaji, where do you see the real migration happening?
I see demand at every point. I do see migration happening to health, and I'm listening to the fascinating conversation of you gentlemen, and I'm thinking, why is nobody cashing in on all these trends? It's not that Bharat does not want to be healthy. It's not that we don't understand millets. In fact, to your quick commerce, it doesn't surprise me because it's Are Ramu Baju ke dukaan jaake leke aao. Ramu's called Zepto. He comes on an app. Baju ka dukaan, I don't know where it is, but it is a new form of an old function or a new function of an old form. And I think that's the way we change. We change in terms of like that only. I mean, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But what I think Indians do very well when you look at migration or not, more than the theory, is the value processing. I think when we say we're not price conscious, we're value conscious, which is benefit minus cost. We look at benefit, we look at cost, and we say paisa vasool. Now, cost, people will tell you this oil is cheaper, but it coats the pan. It takes more time to get the oil grease off the pan, and therefore overall it's more expensive. That's how sophisticated value processors we actually are. And I think health, so for example, health plus taste. I mean, if you make ready-made chapatis for us, we eat 1 trillion of them, and get rid of bread altogether. I mean, for us, as I often say, making chapatis for my child is positive labor. Making it for my mother-in-law is negative labor.
Yeah.
So get rid of all negative labor. So that's it. You're saying the consumer has to qualify, which kind of underscores the point I make in my book. The consumer's way ahead. I want health, I want taste, I want less chemical. I may not want to pay for what is pure organic, which comes without a label, and I take your word for it.
Yeah.
But nobody wants, even if you talk to the lowest income and more so them, nobody wants to put chemicals into the stomach of your children. So I think the trend on your migration is that everybody in India says, I want to stretch for more, not settle for less.
Great.
Right? And I think that's a trend we're actually seeing. And also it is always combinations of things. We Indianize everything, right? It's Punjabi, Chinese, it's oven baked tandoor, Sonia Gandhi's in a sari. Right? So I think those are trends. The consumer trends are way ahead of the supplier. The supplier is still saying, my margin, my volume, when will the consumer change? The consumer is a monster consumer, been made more monster and I think e-commerce, that's my point, is that marketplaces will win the day in Lilliput land, I say, because you can get a small black rice on a marketplace. I mean, Amazon has shown us how you can get little bits of everything from cow dung to black rice to everything else.
Really?
And if you look at marketplaces, it is where the small are actually contributing and building mega. You can say it hasn't gone anywhere, but I think that if it's a natural rhythm, and it will go. So while big companies are waiting for consumers to evolve, marketplaces are getting all the small guys on and saying, small consumer, small buyer, yoke it digitally with small transactions and let's go.
Fair point. Okay. Just last round of questions. And, Mr. Kapoor, if I look at the online space, there are plethora of brands which are getting created in just about every category. From ready to eat, to snack, to healthy snack, to packet samosa, to healthy samosa, to healthy biryani. Everybody's experimenting. Startup to create a brand now. You don't need a large distribution channel because you can put it on a website. Who will survive? Who has the right to win in the food space?
Right. Brilliant question, Nikunj. I think, you can't call everyone a brand. Entry-level barriers have broken. So anybody can sell, but does not become a brand, right? It's availability is there, whether they'll be there for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. So most in food-based, especially in food service, they come with the willing to lose, and most of them lose and get out.
Okay.
Right? So it is like any other business. Anyone who can understand all the parts of business right, can execute well, will continue to win and should have money in the pocket. So, of course, in food, what we are seeing is that differentiated things earlier were not sampled easily. Sampling has increased. So in food, sampling is critical. So sampling has increased, so the chances of success are increasing. So anybody who can accelerate the pace of sampling through whatever mechanics, whether by losing more, it's like quick commerce. When you're acquiring more by losing, giving out more, right? 1,100 rupees per person for quick commerce acquisition cost is not low. So if you are doing that and you understand that you need to look at all parts of business, it has not changed over the years. Execution is critical, and that's what we are doing. Storytelling, important, but that leads to sampling. Rest, then you have to take care of everything. Price has to be right, value has to be given, you have to be consistent, you have to do everything right, you have to do business right. Anyone who understands business will survive.
Functionality, story, and then community.
Yeah,
That's
So,
what I can understand.
Nikunj, if I can just add to that, what Ramaji said and what Sanjeev said as well, right? E-commerce, online marketplaces have sort of democratized business. Anyone can sell to anyone. The key is, you have to remember, about 90% of India's business is still kiranas. So while you'll get to a certain scale with a D2C or online model, after that, to really scale, you've got to figure out execution at the kirana level. I think that is where brands will stutter. I mean, hitting from 0 to 100 crores is not an issue. But what after that?
Okay. Ramaji, closing comments from me. Literally, we've extended our appointment with you. Kapoor Sahab has come from... कहाँ से आ रहे हैं? एयरपोर्ट से
हाँ, एयरपोर्ट से, नागपुर से नागपुर.
आपको ऑफिस जाना है. And the Ramu is there today, or you have to order the mixie?
नहीं, have to order the mixie to make the khana.
नहीं फ्रोजन ऑर्डर करके देखो एक बारी.
हाँ, और वो frozen वाली बात ना, it can very quickly thaw. Microwave में डाल दो. And you're saying, oh God, yes, but that's the way we do
There
it.
you go.
Yeah.
The next category
My
is
closing comment is that 1,000 flowers will bloom. India is not a country of or. It's and the consumer is ready. Will the supplier please hurry up?
Okay, now one question for stock market. I mean, we have a business channel, and you are an investor in Tata Consumer. You've invested in Tata Consumer. तो चलिए तो फिर तो काम ही खत्म हो
all
गया.
shareholders.
अब क्या सवाल पूछूं मैं?
But I will say my markets are different from your markets.
Okay.
Yeah.
My question is, we've not seen too many categories, too many brands which have got created in last 15 years in India. I can count off, let's say, D-Mart, Indigo, Bajaj Finance, to some extent Paytm, IPL. Why is that? We are talking about economy going from 1.5 trillion to about 4 trillion. But frankly, if I look at consumer brands, big brands in last 10 years, you can count them on your fingertip. That is now America involved. America involved very differently. When they migrated from 5 to 10 and 15 to 20, big brands were created. Why is that?
Because pre-1991, we actually built better brands. We had more competition. We had less avenues. I think after 1991, the groundswell, wo Hindu rate of growth, 30% growth ho gaya. I often say the government of India is not your marketing director. So every time there is a hiccup, people call on excise duties to be reduced. All your discussions in the stock market are about GDP kitna hoga, consumption kitna hoga, category kitna hoga. I think when the action moves to there are winners and there are losers, strategy will prevail. People will build more brands. Today, I think there is a groundswell of consumption happening. Throw a stone and there is consumption. Not meaning to trivialize any of it. I'm the drama critic, right? I don't have a P&L to carry. But I think that's why the art and science of the brand is right now a little bit in question. It is also to do with the changes in structure of the advertising industry and the market research industry and so on. But more than that, I think if you have a prolonged period of, God forbid, 8-9 years of a slowdown, you will see stellar brands coming up.
I also feel advertising has a very big role to play here. You know, advertising is so fragmented now.
Yes.
And, you know, back in the day in the 90s, all of us had one TV set. We watched what our parents watched and all of us consumed the same ad.
And you had a full service agency.
Exactly.
You didn't have an agency split
You know,
into
now
five
on
different
YouTube,
pieces.
you're always skipping ad. So I think it,
Just
you know...
skip ad on YouTube, it's okay. TV, don't skip ad.
but honestly, I mean, brands are about walking, about talking your walk.
Of
I think the
course.
walk itself is a
But the
little weak
perception
in
as
terms
well.
of consumer orientation. If you ask most so-called brand owners, why buy me? I think the answer is because the market's growing at X%.
Okay, once in a lifetime opportunity for the shareholders of Tata Consumer. Tata AGM happens once in a year. You can only meet the management, ask questions once in a year. You both are shareholders. Your time to ask the question to the management. No shareholder has a question.
No, very interested parties also.
Happy shareholders. They just flash the stock price.
All the happy shareholders and congratulations, Mr. D'Souza. I mean, stock has just been a magical turnaround. When I say stock, it's just an endorsement of what good work, what you've done. And I think I've had the pleasure of tracking Tata Consumer for years now, and I can see that things are getting really revitalized in the right direction. Thank you so very much, and an honor to have you as the guest editor today. Ramaji, Kapoor Saab, high five. Thank you very much, and let's take a break.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.